I'm doing all right. I'm tired for some reason. Yeah, not getting up really any earlier than normal. Although yesterday we did get up early. Yesterday we Saturdays normally we'll sleep in till like 10, 10:30, 11, slowly meander around the house, and then maybe get up and get coffee, maybe a donut before noon. Yesterday we were up at like a little before 8.
Yeah, wow. Substantially earlier. That's like sleeping in to us these days. 9 is amazing. But 8 is normal. And then you can back it off from there. But we've also been, I don't know, really tired for some reason. But we're gearing up for our little vacation coming up this week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Forgot all about that.
That's right. So that's why we're doing Tuesday, remember?
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I'll talk to you again
for the reminder.
In a couple days. Yeah, because I'm going to have to watch the episode tonight so that we can stay on our Bachelor schedule. Watch that on Monday. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully I know what my notes are referencing 48 hours after I took them. All right. Should we get going?
Might as well, yeah.
All right. Welcome to No Hugging, No Learning.
It's a show about one thing, watching Curb Your Enthusiasm for the first time.
I'm Tim Murphy.
And I'm Ted Hollowell.
And today we will be talking about Season 7, Episode 8, Officer Krupke. But before that, what's the deal with stuff from our last episode, The Black Swan? I recognized Eric Edelstein as the stonemason, and just wanted to know a little bit more about him, where I might recognize him from. First of all, I realized that one of the things about Eric Edelstein I've always thought is that he's kind of out of shape David Harbour. Depending on where you see David Harbour.
Yeah, depending on like what season of Stranger Things you watch him in. Or,
or if you see him in Hellboy.
Or what movie you see him in. Yeah, could make sense or could not make sense.
Yeah, well, it makes sense because you're like, wow, if that's out of shape David Harbour, he's like really out of shape, because sometimes David Harbour has that going on. But that is the way I feel. I'm sorry, Eric, if you're listening, but they do resemble each other, I think. And Eric Edelstein is an American actor and comedian, best known for playing the role of Bobby Mallison in Shameless, which I never watched, but I know a lot of people loved. He was Bob in the Monsters vs. Aliens television show, and I don't know if AC still listens to us, but he is Grizz in We Bare Bears.
Oh, no way. That's cool.
Yeah. He also had a supporting role in the 2015 horror film Green Room, which I've always wanted to see. Did you ever see that?
No.
Speaking of Nazis.
No, what was it?
Green Room. It's got Anton.
No, I haven't.
Who's the one who passed away? Yelchin? Was that his name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe so.
I think he's in that, and it's the one about like this punk band that's playing a club, and then they get like kidnapped by Nazis, and they're barricaded, I think, like in their green room, and they have to fight their way out or whatever. But I've heard it's boss. Like I've always wanted to see it.
I have never even heard of this.
I want to say, is Patrick Stewart in it too? In an odd?
Yeah. Patrick Stewart, Anton Yelchin. Imogen Poots, which has got an unfortunately hilarious last name. No, honestly, whenever you said it the first time, I was like, is he talking about Green Book? Because this doesn't sound like Green Book.
Yeah. No, it looks, it's always looked absolutely amazing. Yeah, and he was also in Jurassic World. He plays a paddock supervisor in that movie. He was in one episode of Joey in 2005, the Friends spinoff.
Oh, no.
In 2013, he was in Arrested Development. He was in like 3 episodes of Drunk History, 2 episodes of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So just another one of those guys that, I've probably seen all the time. Everyone's probably seen all the time. That you just can't put your finger on where. But he's popped up a ton in stuff that I have viewed. Also, I recognized the name. I didn't recognize the guy, but Duncan Trussell played the assistant to Mr. Takahashi, who calls the foursome into his office after the Swan is discovered. And Duncan Trussell, he's 49 currently, born in 1974, American actor and stand-up, known for his podcast, The Duncan Trussell Family Hour. But I remember him probably because I thought he had one of the best podcast names from before that. I couldn't find any reference to it in his Wikipedia page, but I remember his podcast was called The Drunken Tussle. Instead of Duncan Trussell, Drunken Tussle. I'm like, that's amazing.
Yeah,
like,
that rules. The Drunken Tussle with Duncan Trussell.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Why would you change that ever?
That's incredible.
He appears on the Netflix series The Midnight Gospel and starred alongside Joe Rogan in the sci-fi series Joe Rogan Questions Everything. And I believe he's also a regular Joe Rogan Experience guest. So I think he's like kind of fallen in with that. Sometimes I will see him tussle on Twitter with some other comedians. I think he's like kind of fallen out of the alt comic scene and maybe fallen in with the alt-right comic scene. I'm not sure exactly. But he was on Nick Swartzen's Pretend Time, which I had almost completely forgotten that Nick Swartzen had his own sketch show on Comedy Central, but I loved it. Did you watch that?
I don't think I ever did, actually. But
oh my gosh.
I mean, whenever I was a teen, I was a fan of Nick Swartzen. I thought he was very funny.
Yeah, his album Party, I played that fucking constantly. I mean, yeah, his stand-up, I'll stand by his stand-up today. I mean, just like I'm forced to stand by Dane Cook's first few albums, maybe his first 2 albums, let's say. Well, I don't know. I know I enjoyed him past that, but if we're just talking albums. But Nick Swartzen's stand-up, I mean, when they would run that on Comedy Central, like I still quote shit from it to this day. Like I'm always thinking about when he's like, how slow old people drive, and when he's like, it was a throwaway joke, but he's like, when I'm 90, I'm going to be going 90. Because he's like, I can't believe whenever I get stuck behind an old person, I'm like, move. You're dying. You don't have this much. You don't have time to waste. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. So Nick Swartzen, absolutely hilarious. But something on it must have been from Pretend Time. I think he played like the voice of a cat that could talk or something, and it was kind of like a situation where you think that'd be really cute or whatever, but the cat ends up being like a huge asshole. I'm probably misremembering all of this, but the one quote I remember is like cocaine gets involved somehow, and there's like a robotic voice that goes, "Powdered donuts make me go nuts." And I say that every time there's a powdered donut within 100 yards of me. I will say
You would.
I
My
do.
God.
And the great thing is nobody knows what it's from, so I can take complete credit for it. That's my favorite. That's my favorite thing to do. Yeah, powdered donuts make me go nuts. And he was also, Duncan Trussell also appeared on both seasons of HBO's Funny or Die Presents, which I was a regular viewer of. And I think I also remembered this. Duncan Trussell dated Natasha Leggero. I for some reason I remember that being spoken about on probably podcasts that I listen to and stuff like that. And he also dated Marilyn Rice Cub too. So there you go. Yeah. I know. So that's all the homework that we had. What about some other trivia? This, I don't know how much of it is true, but in this episode, Larry gets into an argument with Norm, and then Norm dies on the golf course, and the next day he kills the black swan on the same hole. And in an effort to cover his tracks, he plants the seed of the theory that the black swan was responsible for startling Norm and causing his death and being attacked. There is an actual black swan theory that refers to events which are difficult to predict in the normal course of business. They are random, unexpected, but high-impact events. These events are considered outliers because there's no past data which can point towards its occurrence in the foreseeable future. With the unexpected death of the club member, Larry presents his own black swan theory to explain the unusual circumstances. It just happens to involve an actual black swan. And so I guess, the Economic Times says the black swan theory is a real economic theory. So, I think you can just kind of chalk this up to Larry hearing about the black swan theory and then writing a very literal episode around it.
Yes, I guess. Yeah.
Like a small event that has a major effect. So, yeah. And I guess, Seinfeld and Curb both are just like complete black swan. Every episode's like a black swan theory show, like a small, minuscule event that then has some major impact in the lives of the characters. But so there we go. Don't say we never taught you any economic theory.
All right. Any other news or anything?
No, I don't think so.
No continuity errors that we got to keep track of?
Did not see any.
All right. Well, if you have never listened to us before, we are not a research-heavy show, despite the last, what are we at? currently 23 minutes, not that bad. Despite the last 23 minutes being exclusively research and bullshit, we like to have our questions pop up naturally in the run of the episode and assign them to ourselves the week following as though we are giving ourselves homework. I've never seen these episodes before. Tim has never seen these episodes before in the last 14 years. If we miss anything, if we egregiously skip over anything, please send us an email or send us a tweet. It's at NoHugging on Twitter, nohuggingnolearningshow@gmail.com, and now nohugging_nolearning on Instagram and Threads. Please give us a follow over there. It's slow going over on the IG.
I think we're almost at a 1-1 following to followers.
Well, yeah, because you follow everyone back, Tim.
Not everyone.
We're public figures. You don't have to follow everyone back.
Our you know, I mean, first of all, I had to follow Grace and the downvoter and Champagne Video. I mean, so that's like a quarter of our follows right there. And you and me, so now we're up to 5. And then I also had to follow the Sam Pancake.
Okay, yeah, of course. Yeah, you had to follow Sam Pancake.
I think our first follow was Sam Pancake because the very first audiogram I uploaded was about Sam Pancake. No, it wasn't the first one, but it was one of the. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I can tag him. And I was like, holy shit, Sam Pancake is on Instagram. And so I
followed
him.
Us back. Oh my god!
I don't think so. I don't think he followed us back.
Oh, I thought you meant that he followed us back.
No, that would be amazing. But no, I don't believe he's one of the lucky dozen, the dirty dozen that is following us. And actually, we're better than 1-1 because we're only following 11, but we have 12 followers. So thank you.
Wow, look at that! Look at that!
Yes.
But yeah, nohugging_nolearning over on Instagram. You can go follow us and just join us over there because it looks like X is X number of months away from shitting the bed. You know what's not dead is Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's where you can give us a 5-star rating and a written review if you like us, at least over on Apple Podcasts anyway. Spotify, you can give us a 5-star rating, and if you really, really like us, you can join us over on Patreon. It's patreon.com/nohugging, where for $5 a month, you get early and extended versions to all of our episodes 1 week before they go out to the general public, and on average, they're about, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes longer than the normal versions. Last couple we've had have been about a half an hour longer.
I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of myself when I get the episode and it's like an hour 20, and then when I'm done, it's like 58, 59.
Oh yeah, I love seeing that shit. I love, especially like whenever. Well, I mean, let me look at the last few in our folder that are gonna go out to the free feed. So I'll go with what was 239. What was 239? 239 was episode 5. What was episode 5?
Let me see if I can help you out there.
Okay, episode 5 was Denise Handicap. So 239 Denise Handicap on the free feed is 1 hour and 4 minutes. On Patreon, it was 1 hour and 15 minutes. So a little bit of a shorty there, and that's actually because we had a little bit of an editing oopsie.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's that one. When you're going to episode 6, the Bear Midriff on the free feed, it was 1 hour and 17 minutes. On Patreon, it was 1 hour and 32 minutes.
There you go.
When you're looking at the Black Swan, episode 7 on the free feed, it is 59 minutes and 16 seconds. On Patreon, the Black Swan went for 1 hour and 21 minutes.
Wow.
That's what you're paying $5 a month for. And I want to give a shout out to the people who are doing that, like our newest patron, Liam M. from, I'm thinking, Australia? I don't know. I think Liam's in Australia. It's AU, I guess.
Or maybe Austria?
Either Australia or
Australia.
Yeah, Australia or Austria. Liam, let us know whenever we publish this on Patreon. Let us know where you're listening from. But yeah, thank you to Liam. Thank you to Michael Klatsky, Drybones, Nate Collins, Tamara Ortiz, the guys and gals over at the Idiotville podcast, John Murphy, Danica Ligorio, J-Dog Conlord, Nick Kudla, Adam Webb, and Megan Stolarski. Thank you guys so much. Again, patreon.com/nohugging. All that being said, season 7, episode 8, Officer Krupke Original air date, November 8th, 2009. And if you're looking in TV Guide that night, you are going to see Jeff's indiscretion forces Larry to embrace his feminine side. And one of Jeff's clients competes with Cheryl for a Seinfeld role.
Why do I not remember it being this long last week? Jeez, it goes on forever. But it's also not bad. I mean, we'll see what we can do at the end with it. I kind of like the first part. That's very, very teasy. So we open in Jeff and Susie's car. They're driving around, and Susie opens the glove box to find a pair of panties.
I do love how quickly we get to this.
Yeah.
I thought that was good.
Yeah,
like,
it was
damn, we're
nice.
just getting right to it.
Just introducing like one of the major conflicts. Yeah, there's no, and it's obviously not hers. She is super pissed and orders Jeff to pull over the car. Over at Banana Republic, which was at 1202 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, it closed. Check this out. I mean, it closed. The story about it was February 3rd of 2020.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah.
Could they see the future?
I know, right? They could at least see the future of Los Angeles real estate because they were closing in prep for opening at Santa Monica Place, I guess, which was like nearby. And this was a huge flagship store of what's called the 3rd Street Promenade in Los Angeles, which is like a mostly 3-block pedestrian open air mall. And like most malls, open air or not, kind of dying in 2020. And this was a 40,000 square foot flagship anchor store of the 3rd Street Promenade. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. All right.
Yeah. And it's currently, I think, or the last time when I read it, I think I had read like a news story about it in like 2021 or something. And it at that point, it was 40% empty. So like almost half the stores, there's nothing in them. And you might think, oh, well, that was mostly COVID. But half of those tenants were already closed before the shutdown.
Man.
So half of that 40%. So it was already on its way out. And so this news story that I read was like about how revitalizing efforts were announced in 2021. And they were thinking like, oh, this doesn't need to be like a 3-story Banana Republic. We can split it into like one floor and then turn the basement into like a club or a bar or something. And the top can be offices or whatever. So they had like a grand plan to sort of turn around the flailing and failing 3rd Street Promenade. But when Google Maps last drove by this storefront, it is still boarded up and for lease. So I guess it's just, slow going there to try to get this mall back off the ground. But Larry is there trying on pants when the fire alarm goes off and everyone is forced to evacuate, including Larry with his new pants on that still have the security tag and everything, and Ben Affleck. Did you see? I did,
yeah. I don't think it was,
No,
obviously,
it
but like, looked a lot like Ben Affleck.
I rewound it several times and I was like, what? And I took a picture of it and I'll tweet it out when we send this episode out.
Oh, that would be so fucking funny.
Oh, yeah.
If I've got a free day. Let me walk on as an extra for this HBO show. Yeah, just pay me a day rate. That's fine.
Yeah, just give me whatever the extras are getting, $50, whatever they get for the day. Like, I'll take that. And yeah, I'm like, I can't wait for people to see this picture. Oh, I'll put it on Instagram as well. Ben Affleck as an uncredited, unspeaking extra in this episode. So everyone evacuates, including Larry, with the security tag and everything. So outside, Larry talks to a police officer who happens to be Matt Krupke. And Larry is, first of all, so excited. He's like, you're Officer Krupke, from West Side Story. There's a character, Officer Krupke. The cop has never heard of it. Never heard of it somehow. Never heard the song, never heard the character. What's your familiarity with Officer Krupke? Had you ever heard of it before this episode? Nothing?
Yeah, I've heard of West Side Story.
Yeah.
Because it's just, one of the biggest musicals.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say of all time, but it's one of the biggest musicals of like modern consciousness, I should say.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think I've ever seen it. I don't know who Officer Krupke is by name for sure.
See, I'm such a big fan of musicals that I definitely knew, just like Larry David. Or Larry David in the show anyway, that I definitely knew the reference. And it,
yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it's not that I'm not a fan of musicals. I I could take or leave them.
You didn't like Joe's Apartment that much. That's a goddamn great musical there.
Okay.
But yeah, as far as West Side Story goes, I mean, it was nominated for Best Picture last year. The remake that Sylvester Spielberg did.
Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone did West Side Story, yeah. That Steven Spielberg did, and so. But the odd thing, like, I love the original motion picture more than I loved Spielberg's version. Like, I thought Spielberg's version was like completely unnecessary. It was good. The only thing about it that was maybe necessary was he cast actual Puerto Ricans to play Puerto Ricans instead of Italians, like the original movie did. But I mean, you just can't beat. But also, as far as West Side Story goes, Officer Krupke is like one of the least important songs in the musical, and one of the ones that, you know, everyone knows, like tonight, there's only you tonight, and even like the gang songs like boy, crazy boy. And that stuff. And so, you know, it's really filler in the musical when it comes down to it, I'll say. But it is still a great song. And Larry, you know, and it'd be I would imagine tough to grow up as someone whose last name is Krupke, and then you decide to become a police officer, and then Larry David is the first one to tell you.
And he has no idea. Yeah. Come on. There's no one in his life that has made this joke before.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, even growing up, your parents must have heard, even though they weren't police officers, like, wow, Krupke, just like the guy in that movie.
Yeah, and then I'm sure whenever he's like, you know, 17, 18, and he's like, I want to go to the police academy. And they're like, all right, Officer Krupke. That didn't happen? You sure?
Yeah, no one at the police academy said anything. Maybe he's just heard it so much all his life, he's just started telling people, no, I don't know it. Because he likes, you know, it's like the people who like, I love telling people I've never seen an episode of Game of Thrones. Oh my, like the people who make a personality out of not enjoying what other people have enjoyed. Like, oh, I love telling people I haven't done it. Like, that's not a personality.
Yeah.
It's just being an asshole.
I made this joke yesterday because I feel like this is one that I haven't seen, but I feel like those same people, and I definitely worked with somebody at one point, not you, I'm not saying you, that worked with somebody at one point down here who unironically would have shared on Facebook, like this if you're in the 1% of people who's never seen an episode of any Kardashian show.
Yeah.
Like that's total like boomer Facebook at its best.
But just because, you know, he might have been so fed up hearing nothing but Krupke and about Officer Krupke for his whole life. Now when people say it, he just pretends he doesn't, and the conversation goes away. They're amazed for a second. I don't think he gets off on it in the same way that, you know, the boomer Facebook people do. Like, I love seeing it on their faces when I say I've never seen Star Wars. People freak out, and it's so funny. It's like, why not just have a real conversation with them or say no or whatever?
I don't know if you've seen this rebuttal, too, that I've seen in a couple of... Well, you're on Reddit, right? Are you still, like, actively checking Reddit?
Yeah, not as much, though, I gotta say, since my chosen third-party app went away.
That's right. I'll tell you what, I use the main Reddit app, and it's not bad.
Really?
It's,
yeah.
But there's a subreddit that I've joined that's incredible. Let me find what it is. Okay. It is Our Terrible Facebook Memes.
Oh.
And it's exactly what you think it is. But one of the best comments that I've seen is, I see you're trying to argue your point. Too bad I made a meme drawing where you're the ugly one and I'm the handsome one. You know what I'm talking about? The meme of like the screaming guy going like, you can't like this thing. And then like the handsome dude with the chiseled jawline.
Yeah, the blonde beard guy. Is it that one?
Yeah. With like slick back hair. It's like, no, it's based. Too bad I drew you as the ugly one and drew me as the handsome one.
You're the ugly one.
Anyway, I'm done derailing.
Officer Krupke has never heard of Officer Krupke. Larry David's amazed. And he's like, you know, he sings him a little bit. And he says, hey, Officer Krupke, Krupp you. And then he says something I think is incorrect, that Stephen Sondheim wanted to write fuck you, but you couldn't say that on the Broadway stage in the 50s. I disagree. I think Sondheim is a better lyricist than that. And I think Krupp you is a funny euphemism for everyone knows what it means, but it's just better writing to say for a bunch of teenagers to say Krupp you, to make the officers.
Not because he wanted to write fuck
I wish I could have said fuck you. That's such a better hey, Officer Krupke, fuck you. No, Krupp you is a better lyric.
Shakes fist at Broadway in the 1950s. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Krupp you is a better lyric. They're turning his name into a bad word. It's so much better. So I don't think that Stephen Sondheim actually did want to write "fuck you." But Larry's like, Larry hears it's going to be like an hour, maybe two, before they're allowed back into the building. So he's just going to leave. And so he's driving a little bit later and singing Officer Krupke. He heads over to Jeff's, who intercepts him in the driveway and tells him that Susie found the panties, and Jeff told her that they are Larry's because he likes wearing women's panties, and he begs Larry to go along with this story as cover. And so Larry, sort of reluctantly agrees, but it may not come up. But when he goes inside, Larry greets their friends Virginia and Dennis, and Susie definitely inspects Larry's panty area, Larry's underpant area, to see if she can see any evidence that he is wearing women's underwear. But they notice that he still has the security tag on his pants, and he tells them the story about Officer Krupke and the fire alarm and all that. And he does make sure to put in, I know all the words to West Side Story because I love musicals so much. It's interesting. You think you know someone, and then you find something out that makes you realize you didn't really know them this whole time. He sort of like really directs that at Susie to drive home the point, to drive home Jeff's lie that he is wearing women's underwear. And Virginia, we find out, is auditioning for the reunion show to play George's ex-wife. And Larry is, obviously kind of put off by this because he really wants Cheryl to get that part. That's the whole reason for doing this. He also doesn't want to hear their how they met story. Susie was in the middle when Larry came in of finding out how they met, and he's not interested in those kind of stories. They're cloying and annoying, he says. And so Susie suggests he walks around the block while they tell the story. Why couldn't he just go talk to Jeff? Jeff is like in the kitchen when Larry comes in, like nonchalantly acting like, oh, hey, what's up, Larry? This is the first time we're talking, kind of greeting he gives him.
Yeah.
But why couldn't he just go in the kitchen and hang out with Jeff? I don't get it. That's probably the whole reason he was there in the first place. I guess it's so that he can take this little walk around the block. But by the way, did you recognize Dennis and Virginia?
I didn't.
Virginia is Elizabeth Shue, a very famous actress.
Okay.
And Dennis is John Schneider, one of them Duke boys from the Dukes of Hazzard.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
okay.
I know, like two very famous, like so famous. I think Elizabeth Shue was probably, especially at this point, a great actress to play herself. Larry obviously wanted a big name, and Elizabeth Shue, I would put maybe right up there with Meg Ryan, certainly around this time, as somebody who Jerry Seinfeld should have been like, we might be able to get Elizabeth Shue. Like that still would have been, I don't know why she had to play somebody else, but she was nominated for an Oscar for Leaving Las Vegas with Nicolas Cage, and she won a ton of awards for that role in 1995. 4 years later, I don't know. It's just weird that they made her play somebody else, and it's weird too that they put her with John Schneider, like another kind of famous TV actor from back in the day, at least. I hope there's some information out there. I'm guessing there won't be about why they were cast in these roles, but we'll see. So outside, Larry is on his stroll around the block, and he comes across a lemonade stand, and he buys a cup for $1, and then calls it the worst lemonade he's ever had. It tastes disgusting. He demands his $1 back for the awful lemonade, and gets into a yelling match with the kids, in fact. And this was pretty amazing. As he's leaving, one of the kids calls him a bald asshole.
Jesus Christ.
I thought the scene with the kids was great. Like, you could tell they just got direction to like yell at this old man, and they went full force with it and enjoyed every second of it, and really played well off of Larry. It made me appreciate Larry's interactions with kids that we've seen so far, but this may be one of the best. I thought that the child actors were great. Back over at Jeff and Susie's, Larry notices and confronts Susie about looking him over. Like, what are you doing? You're looking me over. She's like, what? No, I'm not looking you over. But she's definitely trying to see what's going on in his underpants area. And then someone knocks on the door, and it's the mom of the kids who wants to find Larry. It's interesting that his news story is that it wasn't enough lemonade for $1.
Yeah,
that's
odd.
a weird error. Yeah,
it's like they filmed these on different days, and he just couldn't remember like what the what the setup for the argument was.
It smelled like that to me too. I was like, they must have filmed these out of order, and he forgot the reason and messed it up when he was talking to the kids. Yeah, because there's a news story. He's like, well, I think it's wrong. They're charging $1 for not a lot of lemonade. Like, that's not what you. No, it's not.
That's not what you yelled at them for.
That's not what you yelled at them for 2 seconds ago. But she says, if you talk to my kids again, I'm going to call the cops. I like at one point, he's like, can I go? He's like done with the conversation. He's like, am I dismissed? Can I go? But yeah, she's like, if you talk to my kids again, I'm going to call the cops. By the way, the mom is played by longtime Seinfeld writer and inspiration, the real life Elaine, Carol Leifer.
Ooh,
yeah,
I didn't catch that. One
of several women who are rumored, purported to be the inspiration for Elaine in one way or another. So yeah, but she wrote on the show for a million years. Carol Leifer. I think it's cool that she won't be the last Seinfeld behind the scenes person that we see in this episode. I think it's really cool that they did this for the reunion season. In fact, just over at the studio, Virginia shows up for her audition, and Cheryl is there, kind of shocked to see another actress who is reading for the role that she was pretty sure is hers, just a formality. And Cheryl goes into audition. Larry is wearing the pants that he's going to return later because he doesn't want to be carrying around an extra pair of pants. He's like, I'm going to go and give my old pants back and give these to them. I don't want to be carrying around an extra pair of pants. Cheryl, by the way, Larry's pant thing reminds me of the story that Jay Peterman buys from, or not, he doesn't buy it from Kramer. Let me think. How does the order go? But Kramer tells this story about how he was going to return a pair of pants and he like goes into a subway tunnel and gets them all muddy. And the punchline of the story that everyone keeps saying is like, the very pants you were going to return. And it's a shitty story, but Kramer thinks it's amazing and he tells it all the time. And Jay Peterman thinks it's hilarious and he buys it. It's one of the many stories that he buys from Kramer to put in his autobiography that Kramer's not allowed to tell anymore. So he starts telling it at a bar, celebrating his windfall for selling all of his stories. And Elaine goes, that didn't happen to you. That happened to Jay Peterman. You can't tell that story anymore. And he's like, and so he wants his story back about, but I think he actually buys some of Newman's life story then and starts telling it. And those stories suck. So it's a pretty funny situation. But the whole Larry wearing the pants that he's going to return is that situation. And Cheryl auditions and she nails it. I mean, Larry is playing up. He's cracking up. Jerry's just kind of like chuckling, but Larry is cracking up the whole time at the scene as Cheryl reads it. And Larry's like, oh man, we can close up shop. That's it. And they're like, well, I mean, there's someone else here. We'll hear him. He's like, oh yeah, sure, of course. But I mean, I don't think it's going to get better than that. And everyone agrees that Cheryl set the bar really high, but Virginia comes in and now Jerry is cracking up hardcore at Virginia's performance and Larry is just stone-faced which was hilarious. He's just kind of like
Larry's just not giving her anything.
Yeah, nothing. Just kind of sitting back. Then we find out that they both were great, but you know, Larry, as much as he argues for Cheryl, Jerry liked Virginia, and so there's got to be a tiebreaker, and Mark says that Virginia nailed it, the guy that was reading with them. And so Larry relents and is like, all right, fine, we'll go with Virginia. And this Mark is Mark Hirschfeld, who was the Seinfeld casting director for 171 episodes.
Whoa.
From season 1 all the way through the end of the run. Yeah.
That's cool.
I know. Isn't that awesome that they like brought this guy back for the reunion? Yeah,
especially in a casting role, like in an on-screen character who is casting for the reunion.
Yeah, and in fact, at the end, it says Mark Hirschfeld plays himself. So he's playing the Mark Hirschfeld that worked on Seinfeld, and I thought that was really so. It's like just such a cool. It's a reunion of more than the Big Four, which I think is awesome when you dig into it like that and you find out little stuff like that. Because I just had a feeling that this Mark guy, I was like, this is weird. I gotta look into this, and so he's really the guy. Back at Banana Republic, Larry's comes in to collect his pants, and they have been lost. They sweep the dressing room after every, when the store closes, and they put all the lost and found stuff in there, and the lost and found, and it's not there, so they're gone. And Larry thinks buying the pants after they lost his pair is unfair. They owe him a pair of pants. And the guy's like, this to me was maybe the best interaction in the whole episode. He's like, well, we have a sign that says we're not responsible for lost anything left. And Larry's like, oh, well, I have a sign in my house that says someone loses your pants, you get to take their pants. And the guy's like, that's a stupid made-up sign. I love that. That's a stupid made-up sign. It doesn't exist. But I do like Larry's point. It's like, oh, you put up a fucking sign. Oh, guess what? I have a sign too. They both have the same legal standing in this case. And he walks out with, he's like, you have a security tag on there. you're gonna walk around. It's like a scarlet letter. And he's like, you know what? Call me Hester. Of course, after Hester Prynne, the main character of the book, The Scarlet Letter. But I love that the guy's like, I won't do you that. I'm not gonna call you Hester. I will not. And Larry walks out, and of course the alarm goes off.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of like literature and musical refs in this episode.
A lot of ancient literature and music, which is kind of par for the course, So that's another thing that we've been reunited with in this episode.
we bring Jerry in for one arc.
Yeah,
and he ages our reference window by 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, he could have said, "Call me Demi Moore," who probably had just starred recently in the cinematic retelling of The Scarlet Letter, and that would have been. But I don't know. I guess it would have dumbed it down a little bit. And in true George fashion, it's a smart joke, and a smart audience is going to appreciate it. I'm curious. Oh, yeah, that Scarlet Letter movie was 1995, so this was. I don't know. Maybe that was too out of date at this point, and Hester Prynne had replaced Demi Moore as the more known reference when you're going to say The Scarlet Letter. Outside, Cheryl.
Hang on, wait. We're talking about Scarlet Letter references, right?
Yeah.
Oh, damn! It hadn't come out yet. I was thinking of Easy A with Emma Stone.
Very true. Very true. A great, hilarious movie. And since you brought it up...
Very funny movie, but it just hadn't come out yet.
It was this date 12 years ago that I was on the red carpet with Emma Stone. At the I know I saw my time hop today 12 years ago.
Wait, damn, today? Holy shit. That's a very odd circumstance.
I know, totally random, but I will never miss a chance to mention that I got to meet Emma Stone on the red carpet of the premiere of her movie The Help, along with Viola Davis and Octavia Spencer and Jessica Chastain and Anna Camp and the author of The Help, Catherine Stockett, and the director of The Help. Damn it, Tate Taylor. Yeah, good times with Allison Janney. Good times with my Hollywood friends. Okay, outside, Cheryl, I guess just happens to be there. Like, because Virginia invited her out for lunch.
This was odd.
Yeah. I mean, she mentions that she was there because she just had lunch with Virginia and Dennis, but it's odd that.
But why is she hanging around?
Yeah, like right there. Yeah. Right where Larry David happened to come out. I mean, I guess it's just convenient for the half-hour-long show that we don't have to contact Cheryl and tell her blah, 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 because she's right there outside. But he breaks the news to her that, I tried, but they're giving it to Virginia, and so they're friends, and so Cheryl's happy for her friend, but she really thought she had the role. And so, by the way, when they were at lunch, Dennis asked if Cheryl was interested in a menage a trois with him and Virginia. And Cheryl just thinks it's a laugh, but Larry does not think it's funny at all.
No, Larry, in fact, is so, I hate sounding like this, but, Larry is very toxic in saying, he's like, If you're gonna have a menage a trois with anybody, it's got to involve me. I'm like, no, you're separated. I don't know if they're full on divorced at this point.
They do keep saying ex-wife. To me, if you're separated, you don't say ex, right?
I don't think so. You're still married until that divorce goes through.
Yeah, that's what I would think. But yeah, he is you can understand where he's coming from. Like, what? We were married for this long. I totally would have done that. Now you think it's funny to
which he never would have done that.
No.
Never in a million years would have done that.
No way. Not even for their 10th anniversary. It was like, you go do it with somebody else away from me. Like, I'm not interested. But he's like, can't believe that she would even entertain the idea or not be insulted by it. And yet, just it was completely off the table and not even a joking matter when they were together. And so he doesn't think it's funny at all. And he storms off over to the architectural firm where Dennis works to yell at him. And Dennis says, it's a private matter. She's your ex-wife. She doesn't have to run anything past you. And if she's curious and wants to, explore this, that's her business. But Larry's just more incensed at the fact that she might have been curious about the whole thing. That she might be entertaining the idea more than she let on. Over at Jeff and Susie's place, Larry is really playing up the fact that he's doing a lot of physical work, like sort of hiking up his pants every now and then just to really drive the point home that he's wearing women's underwear. And Susie interrogates him about what are you doing there? He's like, oh, I just got some new underwear. And she's like, oh, really? Where'd you get them? And he says, online. And she's like, you know what? You don't even know how to fucking use a computer. There's no way you got those online. You're the last guy on earth who knows how to use a computer. And he's like, my assistant got them for me. She is giving him the 10th degree, and Jeff sort of like brushes her off and makes her leave the room and says that she is not buying it. He can tell she is not buying the joke. And here's where we get a little bit of an issue with the episode that we're going to have to dig into a little bit, because Larry says he is playing it part transvestite, that he is exploring it that way. And Jeff's like, no, that's not, you like it for comfort. You're not a cross-dresser. You're wearing it to be comfortable, which I don't think there's anything wrong with either one of those statements right now. But at a certain point, they start, instead of transvestite, saying trans, which is interesting. Do you remember when trans meant, maybe it didn't even mean, like no one shortened transvestite to trans, but... No. But Larry says trans here, and then I'm pretty sure they switched to tranny somewhere in the
they dropped that, and that's really only ever used as a slur.
Yeah.
Same with the literal word transvestite. In this day and age, it's only ever used as a slur.
Really?
And yes, it is not proper terminology.
So what's the proper terminology now?
I mean, God, we should get someone. Honestly, we should get a trans person on here to tell us.
But I don't necessarily think it, because trans now means transgender.
Yes.
And so I think there are still, I mean, cancel me if you want, I think there are still transvestites who aren't necessarily transgender. Like now we're talking about something like so super fluid that like we're really kind of splitting hairs. But I think what do you call it? Like
cross-dressing? I think you're just talking about a cross-dresser. Yeah, you're not using the old term.
So what's the difference between a cross-dresser and a transvestite? They're just two words for the same thing.
It sounds like you're setting up a joke for the Comedy Underground, headlined by Joe Rogan. I'm not gonna lie.
What's the difference? All right, thanks everybody. Bill Maher,
and that's here. My time. Thank you. I don't know.
I think we're both, as we sometimes get as two cis hetero men, over our heads when we talk about gender fluidity. I really wasn't under the impression that it was a canceled term at this point. And maybe it's because it sounds so medical, but I don't think, I mean, certainly you can use it as a slur if you want, but I haven't, I never got that feeling from it. But I think you'd probably be right as far as, I think it would bend, what's the word I'm looking for? Is it bend your ear? Now that means when you want someone to listen. I think it would hit a sour note to a lot of younger people's ears who have grown up without it being the go-to term. Yeah, and I mean like scientific term.
Yeah. Like I think if you play this for like the TikTok audience, that's gonna be the dog whistle of like, oh, when is this episode from? type. That's gonna be that for this episode.
But I don't think when Larry said it, he was. I mean, maybe he was. It's definitely played for laughs, and that's what we always have an issue with. But I think when he was saying like I was playing as I was like part transvestite, like I was experimenting with cross-dressing, and Jeff is like, no, you're just doing it for comfort. It's not about, he's not bringing gender identity into it at all. But certainly when they break out the NY at the end, that's when I'm like, oh man, because Jeff says it first, and it almost like opens the door for Larry, because I think he drops one too. But it was like, man, wow, like I can't. It's just nothing that you'd hear. And so they break it down to Larry's motivation in this performance is, I'm Larry David, and I happen to enjoy wearing women's underwear. That's it. There's nothing more to it than that. There's
nothing additional to it. Yeah. And the way he keeps repeating it is very funny.
Yeah.
He's like, who are you? I'm Larry David. What do you like doing? I like wearing women's underwear.
Yeah. And I appreciated how that came back later, but it is hilarious how they make it into like an acting exercise. Like, I'm Larry David. And what do you do? I happen to enjoy wearing women's underwear. Great. That's great. Let's practice again. But Jeff has some good news. Virginia's dropping out. The reunion, she can't do it anymore. She's in a neck brace. And now, this was such a hilarious... I mean, it goes back to like Larry's toxicity around the menage a trois. I mean, because it plays into that, certainly. But he says there's only two ways you can hurt your neck: in a car accident or cunnilingus.
That's it. The only two ways. The only two ways anybody anywhere can hurt their neck. Jesus Christ.
That was, I think, just as funny as they wanted it to be, which is absolutely hilarious.
Only two ways someone can hurt their neck.
There's only two ways. He says it with such
car
conviction.
Accident and cunnilingus.
There's only two ways anyone can hurt their neck. Oh
my God.
So he is certain that she hurt her neck going down on Cheryl during their menage a trois.
Yes. Holy fuck.
And Jeff is like, you know what, let's check the car. We'll check the car. And so they go over. They must live nearby. That's why they were over probably at Jeff and Susie's. They're probably neighbors. And Larry and Jeff sneak around, and there's no damage to the car. So, Ted, it's got to be the other thing. It's got to be the other thing.
It's got to be the only other thing anyone can ever do to hurt their neck.
To hurt their neck. Car accident or cunnilingus. I mean, it's like saying, I know any normal person can think of 12 different ways, just like Cheryl is going to mention in this lunch, of the way someone can hurt their neck. But it's almost like Larry could go, there's only two ways someone hurts their neck: neck injury or cunnilingus. And so they do go to lunch, and Larry breaks the news to Cheryl. He wanted to tell her in person that Virginia is dropping out and she's got the part. And Cheryl, as anyone wanted, well, why can't Virginia do it? And Larry's like, oh, very good. Very good. You're going to be great at this acting thing. He thinks she's faking, not knowing why Virginia is in the neck brace because, as Larry says, I know that the way she broke her neck was, well, she wasn't in a car accident, so she was going down on you.
God damn it.
And Cheryl, I mean, this was kind of funny, but I wish they played it a different way, because Cheryl's like, people can hurt their neck in any number of ways. And Larry goes, how? And she says one way and then can't think of anything else. So I guess I wish she would have rattled off 12 different things, because that really would have nailed the point home that it could be anything. Like, you fall on your neck, you fall in the bathtub. Yeah.
I don't even know what did she say? What was the other way that she was able to mention? Because it was like a first thought, and it almost didn't make sense either.
Yeah, and then she couldn't think of any more. It's like, all you're doing is proving his point. Damn it, Cheryl. You have to stand up. You're the only person that can make this right. But no, it's like, well, all right, I guess you're right. It's cunnilingus or a car accident. But it wasn't on me. But she storms out, and Jeff calls, imploring Larry to think of something, because Susie is not buying any of it. And so you've got to think of a way to make to really drive this lie home and make her believe that you're wearing women's underwear. And Larry comes up with an idea. He's like, I got an idea. I'll be right over. So he's driving over, and he's singing again, Officer Krupke. And we've seen this several times. This must just be the way Larry lives. No radio, only singing. Anytime we see him in a car, that's pretty much the case. Like, the radio's not on, but he is making noise and singing himself. And he just must do that when he's alone or with anybody. I could see Larry being one of those people of like, I'm not listening or watching, and I'm listening to or watching anything where I'm going to be advertised to. Yeah, I could see him being one of those people. True. Or maybe he hates everything except what he creates.
Yeah. Oh yeah. but he's also not going to pay to not be advertised to. Yeah. So he's just not ever going to watch or listen to anything.
Yes. Hang on, I want to look for Cheryl's reason. Larry, there are other ways to hurt your neck besides having to go down on someone. Name one. Painting. She says painting. And Larry says, I never saw Michelangelo in a brace. But yeah, I mean, and by that I was like, what is she talking about? Maybe you've got it. You could get a stiff neck if you're looking up for too long while you're painting or something. I don't know. But I'm like, but I brought up another one you should have thought of right away. Falling off a ladder. How about that? How about that? There's another. There's two. Painting, falling off a ladder, skateboarding. And cunnilingus. But at least we thought of a few more. Painting. And so Larry is driving over, singing Officer Krupke. And right as he passes the kids that he bought the lemonade from, who are still outside, is when he says the Krupp you part. Officer Krupke, Krupp you. And the mom notices and starts taking out her phone to dial the authorities. Over at Jeff's, Susie says that Virginia got hurt driving in a car accident. And Larry's like, we checked the car. There's no neck brace. And she's like, she was driving Dennis's car. Okay. So that was what she was in the accident in. And it's at that point that Officer Krupke comes in and says that there's a report of him yelling obscenities at children. And he says he was just singing the Officer Krupke song. But that's when the police officer notices the tag on Larry's pants. Well, you got to give those pants back. And this could not be more perfect, because Larry stands up and drops trow, revealing a pair of pink panties that he's wearing, much to Susie's shock and Jeff's "I told you so-ness." And Susie goes, "Who are you?" And he goes, "I'm Larry David. I happen to enjoy wearing women's underwear." Which was a perfect
so
callback.
Good. It was so good. Yeah. I wouldn't have been upset if that was the end of the episode.
I know. It was amazing mic drop moment for the episode on us. But we do get one more scene when, and this was kind of a funny button. It almost would have worked better as a post-credit sequence. This would have been a great post-credit.
If Curb ever did post-credit scenes, this would have been good.
I know. And I think once or twice they have. I remember one, at least once before they've done it. But at home, the doorbell rings. It's Jeff in a neck brace. And he's like, "You got to tell Susie I was in a car accident." And so the other joke of the episode has been brought home. And Jeff hurt his neck, not painting.
The only other way that Jeff could have injured his neck wasn't in a car accident.
Yes. So hilarious payoff there. Larry just shakes his head as Frolic does not start to play, but instead we're treated to the original Broadway cast recording, or the original, I don't know if there's a Broadway cast and the movie cast, but the original recording of Officer Krupke. So one of the few episodes of Curb that does not end with Frolic. I can't even think of another.
Man.
But yeah. But I wonder if we'll find out next week if there had been any other episode, or has been since. And that's it.
All right. Tim, what do we got for homework this week?
I didn't really write anything down.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the officer who played the guy who played Officer Krupke, that actor, I kind of recognized him, so I might do a little dive on him, and maybe a little bit of West Side Story if I can find anything about the song, but maybe not. We'll see. But nothing official.
Okay.
No official homework. Yeah.
What do you like for cover art this week?
That's a good question. It always comes, and I'm rarely prepared. I mean, do we want to subject people to Larry in pink panties?
Maybe.
It's not the last shot. So it's not that crutch.
It's not technically the last shot. Yeah.
Although Jeff in the neck brace is pretty funny too. Once you realize what it's for. I don't know. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking it's got to be Larry in the panties.
I guess so. And we already have Larry pretty much pantsless with a water bottle on his groin. So,
Yeah, and hey, our very first episode of Curb was the pants tent. And that was our cover art for that episode, was Larry with just a big old air pocket on his crotch.
Yeah, and at least Larry is wearing a shirt, because one of our cover arts has also been the psychiatrist in the thong.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, I guess we got to do it.
Okay, let's see what we can do about this week's description. So we had Jeff's indiscretion forces Larry to embrace his feminine side, and one of Jeff's clients competes with Cheryl for a Seinfeld role.
Oh, I guess it's never really explained that that's one of Jeff's clients. I guess the fact that he knew that Virginia couldn't do it before.
I guess you're not. Yeah, I guess it's not.
I mean, it's not explicitly stated, but the fact that he knew she couldn't do it before Larry did makes that point. But it's not important. But it's weird that they needed to mention it in the synopsis. It doesn't bear mention in the synopsis, but because it doesn't create any conflict. One of Jeff's clients, blah blah blah. You can just say another actress.
Yeah, and what if we just reworded that part to say, and Cheryl has competition for the Seinfeld role?
Yes, that's fine. Perfect. And then what do you think of the first part?
I really like it.
Yes.
Jeff's indiscretion forces Larry to embrace his feminine side. Because, we get into that immediately, and it's not unnatural like the impetus of the Seinfeld reunion was. That was very unnatural.
Hey, they're asking when you'll do a Seinfeld reunion. All right, I'll meet. Okay.
After over 10 years of saying no, it took you 30 seconds of being convinced.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's such a good tease. Jeff's indiscretion. I mean, it's like maybe better than one we could have come up with. Jeff's indiscretion forces Larry to embrace his feminine side.
Because it doesn't even say that Jeff's cheating on Susie. You know, it's just like his indiscretion. Yeah. What could that be?
Oh, yeah, really good.
Yeah, this is really good. And then the last part, and Cheryl has competition for a Seinfeld role.
Perfect.
For the Seinfeld role. Because, I mean, we know she's going out for George's wife. But yeah, I think that does it.
Yeah, there's nothing else. I mean, we don't need to mention, the only other storylines are the threesome and the pants, but those are just those aren't as big as the ones that are mentioned. So I think that's pretty good.
All right. Well, Tim, did you like this episode?
You know, I did. I liked that the Seinfeld, you know, we got some more of Jerry, that the Seinfeld storyline was more prominent in this one. And I liked talking about it more than I enjoyed watching it in the moment. I might have to, man, I have so many star lows, but like just talking about it maybe elevated it. And the ending is so good. I'm going to have to give it at least a star low.
Okay.
What about you?
I think I got to give it a star low too. Because I was having a fun time watching the episode, and I don't know. You know, it's just not. There's so much quality this season.
I know.
Which is
that's exactly what I was
for me.
At the end of this episode, I was like, "Damn, this is a solid season." It's like you could give a star low to every episode, and that, you know, it's just amazing. Yeah, it's going to be very tough at the end because I'm going to have like one or two. It's going to be tough to pick my third one, I think. Maybe my second and third one.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, next week we have got Season 7, Episode 9, The Table Read.
Hey!
Original air dates, November 15th, 2009. And if you're looking in TV Guide that night, you are going to see Larry gets frustrated by a 9-year-old's emails, Leon poses as a dead man, and Jerry befriends Funkhauser.
Wow. First of all, another super long one.
Yeah. Also, how long has it been since we've seen an episode of Leon? Like,
very
the beginning
long.
Of the season?
Yeah.
I think. I don't think he's been in season 7 since the first episode.
Yeah, he was in Denise Handicap because I remember him talking to Larry. So he was in like an episode 3. You're right, though. It's been like 3 or 4 episodes because he wants Larry...
He's
to
been
assure
hanging
him,
out in Larry's guest room.
Yeah, but he talks about Larry making sure he brought it when he was sleeping with Denise, whether he brought it or not. He's like, I always bring it. You split that ass in half. You bring the bottom half of that ass home, or whatever he said
Jesus
during
Christ,
his awesome tirade. But yeah, so it's going to be great to get some more Leon. And this episode, I know, has one of the most infamous scenes in all of Curb Your Enthusiasm, the entire run of the series. People would maybe put this interaction at number 1.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
okay, I'm really excited to see what it is.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if it has come across your purview at all, because it's just that pervasive in.
Is it like a heavily quoted?
Yeah, I'd say.
Okay.
I mean, you could say this to any Curb fan, and they would know exactly what you were talking about. But it's kind of an entire sequence, and I won't spoil anymore. But when it happens next week, it's I think you're really gonna love it just as much as everybody else who has seen this episode does.
Awesome. I'm excited for it then. Jesus.
Yes.
Alrighty.
So without saying any more, is that it?
Yeah, I think that is it.
All right. For No Hugging, No Learning, I'm Tim Murphy.
I'm Ted Hollowell. Be good.